So some of you guys know I like to flip stuff online. I find most of these items on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and then in thrift stores. And I thought it'd be fun to make a video talking about my 5 favorite flips that I've ever done. There have been some interesting finds for sure while I've been doing this. And I don't know, I think it's kind of cool to look back and reminisce. Some of these are going to be really weird and entertaining, while others more practical items that I still look for when I'm doing this. So strap in. Okay, so we're gonna start off with kind of a wild one. I found this guy on Facebook who had this big BB-8 Star Wars store display for $100. It was a good price, so I decided not to haggle with him, and here's how it went.
All right, how did you get this? Is this like...
So, it's a store display.
Yeah,
my friend used to work at Walmart.
Okay.
And got it from the store display, so...
It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
I ended up selling this thing for $350 to a dude that sent his wife to get it.
Here he is. I don't know if you want him in this thing. I just put him in it to keep him from rolling around. Okay. You got a collector or something?
Yeah, my husband. Last year it was the big life-size Spider-Man that I had to pick up.
Oh boy.
Now that's a true wifey. But $250 in profit. If you ever run into these store displays from iconic franchises like Star Wars, Ninja Turtles, Pokemon, take a look at them. They're usually pretty collectible and can be flipped for a good profit. Okay, item number 2 is a little less exciting, but if you want to get into the flipping game and want something super easy to look for, this is for you. Toner cartridges are a gold mine if you get them for a decent price. I've found a lot of times that people are just getting rid of old printers and want to salvage what they can from unused toner. So typically people are willing to sell it for a decent price. I found these 2 HP ones for $100. I offered $80 for both. They said yes, and they sell for over $100 each on eBay consistently. I photographed and listed them, and within a couple days I sold both for $200. After fees, shipping, and everything, this came out to a profit of about $80. Not huge money, but toner cartridges are some of my favorite items to flip because they're just simple. They're really easy to figure out a value for, and shipping them usually isn't crazy expensive because for their size, they're not super heavy. Oh, and I should mention that in my experience, you want to look for the branded cartridges. There are a lot of companies that make toner that's compatible with different printers, but the actual HP or Brother or Kodak or any actual brand, that's where the money's at.
And now a word from our sponsor.
So you guys know that most of my flipping happens on eBay, and just last week I attended the eBay Open. This is an event that eBay has every year where they do different keynotes and sessions all about eBay and how to succeed on the platform. I learned a lot this year and just quick wanted to share my experience. One of the first sessions that I joined was all about the trading cards niche. This is a space where I haven't done a ton of selling yet, but I'm trying to learn more about. There's this thing they talked about called a Roca sorter. I had no idea this existed. Basically, it's this machine that can sort and index 1,000 cards in just 2 hours. It digitizes your whole collection, which leads to shorter listing times and also the ability to drastically increase your store selection without hours and hours of work. I also learned about eBay live selling and the eBay Vault and how they're going to play a large part in the future of this space. The next day, one of my favorite sessions was the Gen Z panel. They got 4 Gen Zers up on the stage and just asked them tons of interesting questions. It was interesting to hear that they get most of their news from podcasts, newsletters, social media, but also that they really like when brands partner with other brands to collaborate and offer unique, more limited type of products. They're willing to spend more money on brands they care about and offer quality that will last them longer. Gen Z wants to connect with what they're purchasing and who they're purchasing from. The last day of the eBay Open, I actually joined one of the small networking groups and really got some fine detailed value. Oddly enough, I've seen a ton of horse saddles for sale locally, and I know on eBay they can sell for a lot of money. In this networking session I was in, there was a woman who has an eBay store that sells mostly saddles. I actually asked her a question in the chat and she answered, which was super cool.
The more specialty model, the more it will sell. When it comes to Eastern English and racing saddles, you have a finite number of top names like Steuben, Collegiate.
After joining this session, I felt like I could buy and sell a couple saddles, so let me know if you guys want to see that. But yeah, the eBay Open was definitely memorable, and if you missed it this year, make sure you sign up next year. Now back to the video. Okay, item number 3 is golf clubs. I think it's pretty common knowledge that certain brands of golf clubs really retain their value, but till recently it wasn't a category that I personally sold in a ton just due to the shipping size. But I found a deal that I just really couldn't pass up. I found this tailor-made RBZ Speedlight set online. I offered the guy $500. He said the best he could do was $650. I countered at $600 and we made a deal. Now I bought this set at the beginning of the golf season, which is another thing to consider when you're working in this category. I was pretty confident that because of that I was going to be able to sell them pretty quick for the price that I wanted. One thing I know a lot of people in the golf flipping world do is clean up the clubs before photographing them and listing them. I did this. I have to admit it made a huge difference in the appearance of the clubs, and in the pictures these things look practically brand new. I listed them on eBay and within a week they sold for $950 plus shipping. After fees and everything I profited around $240. They were definitely a bit of a pain to pack up and ship, but this is also kind of why there is an opportunity with golf clubs. Most people don't want to go through the hassle of finding a large enough box, cleaning them up, and taking photos. Because of this, a lot of times people are willing willing to offer their clubs at pretty reasonable prices. I've flipped several single clubs before too, mostly putters. There's definitely a big market for secondhand golf clubs. Just make sure, as always, you research eBay sold data before buying anything. For item number 4, we have another fun one. And I'll say right off the bat that this one I didn't make money on. I think I could have made a little, but not a ton. It was one of those items that I just saw online and I was like, I need to pick that up. So one day I'm looking on Facebook Marketplace and I come across this almost life-size looking Leonardo Ninja Turtle. I had never seen these before. I'm not huge into Ninja Turtles, but I decided to meet up with this guy who was a massive toy collector and pick this thing up for $100.
He's in really nice shape.
Yeah.
He hasn't been abused.
Played with a little bit.
Played with a little bit.
Do you know what happened to the other sword, or
I
he just
don't
didn't?
know.
He just
I
didn't
don't.
have it.
I-
Looks
yeah,
good to
these
me.
are
How long did he take to
Pretty cool.
sell?
I'm on there like a week ago.
I
I
mean,
know that these things sell for $200.
Is he heavy or not?
No, he's
Not too bad. Just
You
slide
pull it
off.
off like this.
Okay.
And you can store your
in there.
stash in there. You know.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Situated.
Now, when I got home, I did some actual research on this item instead of just listening to my gut, and I realized that they don't really sell for more than like $175 to $200 online. Even if the customer pays shipping, after fees and everything, I'd profit maybe $40 to $50 and have to deal with figuring out how to ship this large, awkward item. I mean, there's only so many people that want this thing in their house, let's be real. So I decided, you know what, I'll make a video with it, which I did, and then just give it to someone who's a super Ninja Turtles fan. I found this dude online, Jeremy, who's like the biggest Turtles fan that I've ever seen. His collection room is absolutely insane. So I thought he'd provide the perfect home for my boy Leonardo.
Hey, what's going on, Jeremiah? But yeah, this is Leonardo. I'm glad he's going to a good home.
He's gotta go right next to Mikey, man.
Yeah. You sent the video of your collection and I was like, this is the perfect guy. Yeah, I also had people like hitting me up wanting to like buy him and flip him. It was a deal.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I really
for
do.
sure.
I can't lie, I was a little bit sad when I dropped Leo off, but Jeremy was the nicest dude. He sent me this video of Leo all set up, and honestly, it was just cool to hook him up with that. So while not technically a flip, this was one of my favorite encounters I've had while buying different items locally. Last but not least, we have Pokemon cards. I haven't done a ton of flipping in this space because in my experience, it's hard to get cards for a flippable price unless you're buying like massive quantities. People seem to know what they have and aren't as willing to negotiate, which is obviously their right. They're their cards. I get it. But sometimes you can still find something, which is what happened to me pretty recently. I saw this PSA 10 first edition Lapras Pokemon card for sale locally for $3,000. I ended up talking the guy down to $2,300, which was a little bit of a battle. The comps on eBay were kind of all over the place. I didn't want to spend more than that.
Well, they were growing up and they started on this Pokemon. And the deal was we had sleeves. If you had a foil, it went into a sleeve, then a hard sleeve.
I ended up listing the card for $4,000 on eBay. Didn't really get much traction there, but once I lowered the price, I got a few offers and one came in at $3,000, which is when I knew we were gonna do all right. I actually ended up countering for $3,050 so that shipping would be covered. Sort of unnecessary, but the person did accept, and profit-wise, I ended up with almost $400 on that one card. Again, in my experience with Pokemon card flipping, you have to know your stuff really well, and you're more likely to be successful with it if you can afford to either buy more expensive slabs or buy multiple cards at a time. I just think there are easier items to flip for beginners, but if you are a Pokemon enthusiast, there's definitely money there. It just, in my opinion, takes a longer time to find good deals than other categories. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There are a ton of items out there that make great flips. The more you do it, the easier it gets to spot which items to look closer at. It's just like anything. It takes practice. But yeah, till next time guys, sub if you haven't. Peace.